Welcome to the second episode of Everyone's Wyatt, called Yours, Mine, and Ours. I'm your host, Joellen Davidson, and I'm excited to continue the story of my great-grandfather, Wyatt Tubert, today. We have a lot to cover in this episode, so let's get straight into it. We're picking up straight from episode 1, where I began my quest to introduce my grandmother, who we call Nanny, to the father she never knew. If you haven't listened to that episode or watched it on YouTube with added photos and graphics, go catch up. I'll be right here waiting. For everyone else, here we go. After taking Nanny to her father's hometown and introducing her to cousins she had never met, my investigation continued. I can't really explain the feeling that permeated my whole body, telling me there was definitely more to be discovered about Wyatt's life. I can, however, explain the sheer frustration over what I had already found. I mentioned before that I had found many Wyatt Tuberts. When I spread out all of my research on the floor for a quick review, I found a Wyatt Tubert in, of course, West Virginia. That was obviously my Wyatt. Since he was in the Navy, I found mentions related to Navy ships, also my Wyatt. I knew he died in Ashland, Kentucky. Those mentions were obviously my Wyatt. But then I found Wyatt Tuberts in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Indiana, Wisconsin, Illinois, Virginia, Ohio, and even in Canada. Keep in mind, at this point, I wasn't taking the time to read all these articles. I just wanted to sort what I had so I could make sense of it all. I found that certain names kept popping up in association with all these different Wyatt Tuberts. May Clydesdale in Philadelphia, for example. She had been married to a man named Wyatt Tubert, and I had record of a divorce after 6 years of marriage. I loved her name. Formerly, it was Mary Scott Clydesdale, but she went by May. Every time I saw her name pop up, it caught my attention simply because I thought, what a beautiful name. But her Wyatt wasn't my Wyatt. I pushed those records to the side. Another woman, Florence Stevens of Connecticut, also popped up a few times in connection with a Wyatt Tubert, who at a glance was definitely too young to be my Wyatt. Oddly enough, the Indiana Wyatt was married to a woman also named Florence. She had died many years later than my Wyatt and still referred to her at the time of her death as Mrs. Wyatt Tubert. So that Florence's Wyatt also couldn't be my Wyatt. I felt like I could have been plucking petals from a flower, but instead of he loves me not, it was he's my Wyatt, he's not my Wyatt. I was so frustrated, confused, and overwhelmed. That week, Nanny asked me how it was going. I told her about my frustration, and we laughed about Wyatt Tubert apparently being a super common name. She asked me what states I had found him in. I began listing them, and she seemed as puzzled as I was, until I said Indiana. She asked for more information. What city? When? What was the article about? I didn't have my research with me, but I remembered Marion and Miami counties for some reason. We didn't have any clue where those two places were, so I grabbed my phone. Miami County. Okay, basically Indianapolis. Nanny shook her head. Miami County. That's Peru, Indiana. With those words, Nanny's eyes widened. I asked what on earth Peru, Indiana meant to her, and she said, "Oh, I was born there." What? Until that moment, I thought Nanny, just like most of my family, was born in Ashland, Kentucky. How did Peru, Indiana enter the picture? Nanny had no idea, but you better believe I was going to find out.
If you are enjoying this podcast, we ask that you consider making a donation to our favorite charity. Embracing Community is a Kentucky nonprofit that is currently raising funds for two projects: help elderly Kentuckians pay their gas or electric bill this winter, or contribute to a fund to provide scholarships for trade school students in the Bluegrass. Go to embracingcommunity.org for more information and to make a donation. Any proceeds from the Everyone's Wyatt podcast will also be donated to Embracing Communities Fund. So please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube, rate and review, and share with your friends. Let's help Kentucky get ahead with Embracing Community.
2 years before, when I had started looking into Wyatt, I had turned to the Ancestry message boards for any Tubert connections out there. I found one woman who posted a request for Tubert info. We had a quick exchange that I barely remembered. I had written off the woman's response. Her Wyatt couldn't be my Wyatt. He was from Indiana. But now, after Nanny's sudden new birthplace announcement, it was time to find that message and that woman. After a long search, I found her on Ancestry, verified there was in fact a Wyatt Tubert in her tree, and drafted a message explaining who I was and that I was looking for information on my great-grandfather. In my experience, Ancestry messages are often not responded to for months, but this Indiana woman responded within 24 hours. A few sentences within her long message stood out as if they were in bold red letters.
If you're speaking of Wyatt Evans Tubert Sr., he was my great-grandfather.
Okay.
I assume we are cousins.
I'm sorry, what now?
Just warning you, there are secrets.
Yeah, I'm definitely picking up on that. Her name was Morgan, and it would take me a week to tell you everything we went through to connect all the dots. But eventually the dots were connected, which led us each to come to a realization together. My Wyatt and your Wyatt are actually our Wyatt. Here's how the dots connect. Oh, and if you're confused after hearing this, be sure to watch this episode on YouTube to watch the dots literally connect on your screen. Remember the Connecticut Florence Stevens I found associated with a much younger Wyatt? And that other Indiana Florence who referred to herself at her death as Mrs. Wyatt Tubert? Well, they're the same woman. The younger Wyatt associated with her was her son, Wyatt Evans Tubert Jr. They also had a daughter, Florence Stevens Tubert. I guess we could call her Junior too. And Charles Lewis Tubert was their youngest. He was named after Wyatt's father, who was the brother of Uncle Joe from episode 1. See, it's confusing, but stick with it. Wyatt's son Charles is Morgan's grandpa. If you're keeping score, all this would make Wyatt Jr., Florence Jr., and Charles my Nanny's half-siblings. And you better believe Morgan had photos. Remember in episode 1 when I said Nanny had prayed for siblings her whole life? Now's a good time to tell you that Nanny seemed to have a prayer hotline number, like God's secret line 2. This woman could have prayed for it to literally rain cats and dogs, and I swear it would have happened. Of course, she reserved her prayers for all things family. Before I had a chance to tell her her prayers for siblings had been answered, there was more to be discovered. And here it is. Remember that beautiful name I mentioned, May Clydesdale? The woman who married and divorced a Wyatt Tubert in Philadelphia? Yep, also our Wyatt. May was his first wife, with whom he had 2 daughters. Thelma, named after his sister, and Virginia, named after his home state of West Virginia. My Nanny had 3 half-sisters and 2 half-brothers. Sadly, all but Nanny had passed away prior to this discovery. I searched Ancestry for details about Thelma and Virginia. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. It was time to tell Nanny the news, and it was her birthday week. So being the geek that I am and recognizing how confusing all this would be for her, I made a birthday video loaded with surprises. On the day of her presentation, It was almost comical to see her puzzled face as I said I needed to plug into their TV to give her her gift. Then my presentation popped up, outlining everything I had found out so far, including many things you'll learn in future episodes. I watched Nanny's face as photos of her half-siblings came across the screen with their names. It brought me true joy. She commented that she saw a resemblance between herself and her brother Charles, Morgan's grandpa. Morgan and I had noticed it too. Not only did they look alike, they were the only two among 6 siblings to be born in Peru, Indiana, which led Nanny, and probably you as you listen to this, to wonder about the timing of the relationships and births. I debated about addressing this on the podcast and even with Nanny, but I'm here for the truth. I think it's only fair to add context about what was going on in his life for each of those events. So, in future episodes, starting with episode 3, that's where we will fit in each relationship and the birth of each child and a few other nuggets of information about each child. At the end of my birthday video for Nanny, there was a clip introducing Morgan with an invitation to visit her and her little girl and her mother the following week in Indiana. Nanny gasped in excited amazement. Morgan's mom was her brother Charles's daughter, Annette Tubert Laswell, who you saw in episode 1's dedications. And that would make her Nanny's niece. You realize what all this means. Nanny and I were going on another road trip to meet 3 generations of Tuberts. And that's exactly what we did. I'd love to tell you about that visit, but I'd rather serve you up an inside perspective, right after a message from EMB Mortgage Group.
The best kept secret in Kentucky real estate is EMB Mortgage Group, a division of Pro Mortgages, which has been around for 50 years. EMB Mortgage Group offers home loans for just about every housing scenario you could have. You know they're doing something right when 90% of EMB Mortgage Group's business starts with a referral from past clients or realtors they've worked with for years. Applying is easy at embkentucky.com or call the owner directly at 859-200-2709. An experienced loan officer based in Lexington will customize a home loan and guide you through the unique steps of your mortgage. Again, that's embkentucky.com or call 859-200-2709. Give them a call. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 2071, Lexington, Kentucky.
I was about to tell you about our trip to Indiana. The sound quality will probably not be as good here in this next segment, but please forgive me as I introduce you to someone very important to me, the woman who helped me turn a 40-prong fork in the road into this story. She's my cousin, my friend, and Wyatt's other eldest great-granddaughter, Morgan Roby.
Thank you. Hi, Joe.
Hi. We don't talk enough.
I know we don't.
I know, but we're going to change that. We're going to be better.
Yes, we are. We're going to be better from here on forward.
That's right. So you have the inside scoop on everything that everyone else is just now hearing in episode 2.
Yes.
And I know you listened to episode 1.
Yes.
So we don't want to give away any secrets that are forthcoming, but I want to start out by talking about how we felt about finding out that Wyatt had 3 families.
I was shocked, to say the least. I joined Ancestry with hopes of finding more out about the Tubert side because I knew a whole lot about my mother's maternal side. They were all a very close-knit family, even though they were all scattered around the U.S. They had already done significant genealogy work that I had, documents of. And so, there were really no surprises on that side. And so I wanted to, kind of dive into the Tubert side and the Stevens side, my grandfather's mom's side.
Yes.
I knew nothing about either one of those sides. And what I had been told about the Tubert side didn't really make sense, but I was a child at the time that I had heard a few things. And so, by this time, my grandfather was deceased. And so I wanted to use Ancestry as a way to try to, find out about the Tubert side. And kind of like you, I just kept kind of coming up with a lot of inconsistencies. And, what I had been told from my grandpa, Charles Tubert, what he had told me wasn't matching with what I was finding. And so
Yes.
I don't want to give away anything unless you want me to tell you this, what I had been told from him that didn't match what I was finding.
So
But
let's talk about that at the end of this chat,
okay.
and I'll put that in another episode.
Okay.
Because that's going to kind of go into his toward the end of his railroad career, I think.
Right. Okay.
We'll put that in that episode.
Okay. But yes, I was
think
shocked.
it was so interesting that I was doing all of this for my nanny, and she was just so dear to me. And one of the first things that we connected on was our just intense connections with my nanny for me and your grandpa.
Yeah, for some reason, and he was my number one person, by the way. And it I'm sure helped that I was the only grandchild. But he and I had a, like an invisible string, if you will. Like we
Yes.
were like on a soul level connected. And, everybody in the family knew it. And, and I was close with my grandmother too, his wife, but it was something different with him. And, he was my person and I was his person. And so, yeah, I kind of felt like this, and he was deceased by then. And I, was too young and ancestry wasn't a thing. I wish it had been, and I could have told him all these things. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting that, you were doing this for a Tubert that you were so close to. And, in a way I was doing this for mine, that I was so close to. So
Yes.
I called him Sharpaw for some reason.
That's right. God, I couldn't think of it to save my life. And I was like, I just remembered there was this cute little name, and I thought it was so cute.
Yeah, it was like CH, like Charles. It was CHAR, but it was paw. So Sharpaw. And I have no idea why or where, but yes. So I have to catch myself not referring to him as Sharpaw when we talk. But yes, that's what everybody in the family kind of
can
nicknamed
totally
him.
call him that. I mean,
Yeah,
when we talk about Nanny, we call her Nanny.
Yeah, okay. Well, Sharpaw's kind of weird, but yeah. That's how we all refer to him.
I love it.
Everybody in the family ended up calling him that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's so funny because we were both at the exact same time beating our heads up against a brick wall because the wall that we kept finding was John Smith, aka Wyatt Tubert, because we both were like, what is going on?
Yes.
Why is there one everywhere?
And I thought maybe there are that many of them. And I'm thinking I just don't think so, but I guess there's multiple ones, but
I mean, even though we know the truth now and more truth than has been revealed in this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked how many there are other than him out there that aren't related.
Yeah, it is.
It just seems strange.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we came out there.
Yes.
And it was so funny. I have told this story to many people off air. Every time I tell the story, because they're like, I'm known as an introvert. I am known as I am not the person who is going to a stranger's home. Now I'm taking my grandmother to a stranger's
home. Yes. In a different state.
Yes. And everybody who I tell this to are like, you did not do that, because that is the least Joe thing that I can imagine happening in the world. And I'm like, not only did I do it, I wouldn't have done it if not for Nanny. I don't think I would have had the motivation.
Right.
But not only did I do it, you and I, to me, felt like almost we were instant sisters. It was so strange.
Yeah, there was definitely a connection there, even from the very first, even through the message boards. I felt like there was a connection there. It was just natural.
It was. And I have also said many times, and I think you and I talked about it before, how when I was doing research on Wyatt, every time, a million different times, I thought I was done. Yeah. And there's nothing else to be found. It's time to finalize my story and tell Nanny this is it. And then it would be like I would get a tap on the shoulder and point to my screen or a piece of paper and say, wonder what that means. Yeah. And that would send me down a rabbit hole. And I felt like Wyatt was going, go ahead and tell the rest of the story. There's more.
Keep looking. There's more. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that was it was crazy. And I mean, I feel like somebody's going to think I'm nuts for saying that, but I, at the same time, had this intense guilt, like I was telling somebody's secrets that were none of my business.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I've let go of that, as you can now see.
Yeah. We've pushed that to the side now.
Nanny was so invested. She adored you guys and asked me about you guys all the time.
Oh, and we loved her
She
too.
did. And I am so glad. Like, I'm glad I went to Tubert Farm and took her to see
Yeah.
them, but it didn't mean the same thing to me. I mean, the
Yeah.
location did, but
Yeah.
giving her you guys, and I felt so close to you, and she
Yeah.
then felt so close to you. I truly, at that point, finally felt like I just really did give her family,
Yeah, you did.
additional family.
You did.
It felt really good.
Yeah, I was so glad we did that.
I sent you a picture that will appear on the screen about this time on the YouTube version of this podcast.
Okay.
And it kind of cracks me up because I forgot I had it. And then I searched and found it. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to talk about, like, we were babies.
Yeah, the one of us where I look like I'm like 20 or 18 years old. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, seriously, we were babies. And
Yeah.
Nanny was a baby. She
Yeah.
was so young.
Yeah, it's crazy how much has changed since then.
Not too long after that, you and Scarlett came to visit me in Lexington.
Yeah, and that was fun.
So we could kind of dig. Well, the purpose was to dig into some research, but let's be
Yes.
honest, we just goofed off.
Yeah, we did.
Which was a great
Yeah,
time.
it
We
was a fun time. It was.
That was really nice
It
to
was.
just kind of chill and
Yeah.
get to know each other even more. And
Yes, that was a fun
I
time.
really enjoyed that
Yeah, so did I.
for sure.
It was fun.
So in episode 3 coming up, we're going to be talking about railroad stuff. And, you
Okay.
know, normally at the end of a podcast, my plan was always to give kind of a preview of the next one at the end of one, but I'm going to cheat. And if people don't listen to this whole thing, they're just not going to get their preview because it's stuck right here in the middle.
Okay.
So in episode 3, I'm going to be touching on railroad career, including, if you remember, his murder trial.
Yes.
I'm also going to be touching on some things that I think are cool historically, because how the railroad worked as far as him being a special agent and how that operated. Which brings me to a topic, because I've already mentioned that he was in the military. He worked for the railroad, and he became a lawyer.
Yes.
So what was weird is when I met you, you were what for a job? What did you do?
A paralegal.
And I worked in the legal department of a railroad.
Yeah, it was no coincidence.
And I was a former military wife. And it was so weird because we came to all these realizations, and it was like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
everything just made sense that we were supposed to be exactly where we were.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wyatt might not want the story told, or some of it, but he did help in some ways.
He definitely did. He definitely did. What never made sense to me, and I actually didn't even know this. Maybe you told me this years ago. I didn't. So my grandfather was born in Peru, but was not raised there. I mean, was not there for any amount of time. Right. I didn't know Nanny was born in Peru.
Yeah, neither did I until that big epiphany when she just, I was born there. You don't know how many. You don't know how many things or how many times.
Yeah.
I mentioned something casually after I only knew 6 things about the band starting all this. And then she would lay a bomb on me, and I would just say, okay, back to the drawing board. Thanks.
What year was she born?
She was born in 29.
Okay. So my grandfather would have been 7 when she was born. And but they weren't living in Peru, I don't think. Whenever
there was no crossover in living there. Because Wyatt moved to Ashland They actually had a house in Catlettsburg, which is right next to Ashland.
I drove through that yesterday, actually.
Oh,
So
did
when
you?
so did Florence and those 3 kids live in Ashland?
Never.
Never. Okay.
No. I can't remember if I ever told you. I thought I did, but I mean, so much of this has happened over so much time.
Mhm.
Wyatt wrote letters. I talked to one of the granddaughters or something, or great granddaughters of Thelma and Virginia.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that you talked to them, but I didn't know
Yeah.
there were letters.
And Wyatt wrote, they don't have them, of course, but Wyatt wrote letters to the girls. One of them wouldn't accept them or write back, and one of them did for a while, and then they just stopped coming.
Okay.
Don't know whether
Yeah.
that was because he really did die, or because he didn't care, or just
Yeah.
had so many kids he didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. 6 kids is a lot.
I am so excited that
Me
you
too.
connected today, and it won't be the last time, and we need to get together.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And I'll be right back. We are not done yet, so hold tight.
Hey, Kentucky, I have a hot tip for you. Joellen Davidson, the host of this podcast, is also an insurance agent at Brooke Whalen Insurance. She offers home, auto, business, and life insurance with some of the country's best carriers. Jo will find you the best rates, superior coverage, and help you understand your insurance. Call or text Jo at 859-229-4797 for quotes on all the things. Again, 859-229-4797. Now, back to the podcast.
So now you've met Morgan, and you'll hear more of our conversation in future episodes. I can't spill all the spoilers. I purposely wanted to get some of Wyatt's family drama out of the way before truly setting up a timeline of his life. Trust me when I tell you, telling his story by timeline is the only way to make it make sense. The man lived only 46 years, but by my calculation, he lived about 6 lifetimes in that span. Instead of giving you a preview of what you'll hear in the next episode, I thought I'd go ahead and tease a few things you'll hear in the next few episodes. We'll tackle his military career and life with May, along with the injury that ended his military service. Or did it? You'll hear about his career as a Federal Railroad special agent, including the time he was with Florence, the time he was shot, the time he wasn't shot, and oh yes, his murder trial. When he starts his career as an attorney, he had no idea his life with my great-grandmother, Margreta, would include opening a case against a huge corporation that has me questioning if he was murdered for a second time in his life. Yes, that's what I said. It's okay, you don't have to go back. I'll say it again. A case against a huge corporation that has me questioning if he was murdered for a second time in his life. Please stick around for an important dedication and don't miss the 3rd episode of Everyone's Wyatt, called The Gunner.
This episode is dedicated to Charles Lewis Tubert, Morgan's charpaw and Nanny's half-brother. He lived an amazing life as an attorney in Indiana after being a star player for the University of Alabama basketball team. He should have played at Kentucky, but that's okay. We forgive him. Everyone's Wyatt is a production of Moon Media. Researched, written, and edited by Jo Ellen Davidson. Music by Homer V. Sparks.